Motorhead Garage, presented by DragonfireTools.com, is brought to you by Amsoil, the first in synthetics. Steel Rubber Products, quality crafted rubber parts and weather stripping. And by Forney Industries, innovating since 1932, we are welding.
This is Motorhead Garage, presented by DragonfireTools.com. Everybody loves a diesel truck. So much power, so much torque. They're great, but what's the complaint you hear, Eric, when people drive these off the lot?
Well, they buy the trucks with the advertised power of like 500 horse, 1,000 foot-pounds of torque, but they get in and drive it, and it just has a ton of lag. There's always going to be some inherent lag with the turbo since it's powered off the exhaust, so it takes a minute for it to spool up. But there's a few tricks that we can do that help bring that power on a lot earlier and smoother.
And you have the solutions at Stealth Performance. So show us the module that you have that's going to help folks overcome that lag.
Okay, so this is the module right here, and it just plugs in line with a couple sensors. It usually only takes like 5 minutes to install.
That's it. And what's it hooking up to?
The fuel pressure sensor and the boost sensor. So what it's going to do is bring that fuel pressure up earlier, so you get a more efficient plume out of the injectors. That way you get more potential out of the fuel. And it also tricks the boost into pitching the vanes of the turbo to bring that boost on earlier as well.
So as the driver, what are you going to feel that's different when you put a module in from Stealth Performance?
Oh, it's just going to be a lot more responsive. You're going to have better acceleration, more bottom end torque, and not only will you notice a difference when daily driving, like with no trailer, but when you get a heavy load behind it, that's when it really shines.
I know what you're asking right now, is it safe for my vehicle?
Yes, and to prove that, honestly, what I did the other day, because I've said this before on tech calls and things, is I took this module, I smashed it with a hammer, I lit it on fire, I cut the wires, and I wrapped them all together while the truck was running. Unplugged it, plugged it back in factory, and just drove off down the road. Just manipulating a couple of reference signals, it's always protected by the factory programming. It couldn't cause harm if it tried.
And speaking of factory programming, does this void the warranty when you plug in a module from Stealth?
The reason warranties get voided is because they can detect the flash count, which means like if someone plugs into the OBD2 port and reprograms the truck's computer, it's always in the history. Fortunately, the module does not reprogram the truck's computer, so it leaves all factory programming intact, so there's never going to be a history of you reprogramming it. So there's no footprint left behind.
How many different makes and models of trucks do you cover?
So we make them for all the major manufacturers, all the newer diesels, the Ram, Chevy, and Ford.
I know you said it's an easy hookup, it's an easy installation. What if I'm having issues with it?
So the majority of the issues is just a connection thing, but we have 24/7 tech support. If you call, you're going to talk to me, the owner, on the phone, 24/7.
You can get rid of that sluggish feeling when you're towing, when you're getting on the on-ramp, pulling out in traffic. You can find them at stealthmodules.com. These things are great.
Sales on diesel power vehicles continue to rise. Folks, diesels are here to stay. Welcome to this Amsoil Tech Tip on diesel injection. Now, when it comes to diesel injection, it's a lot like gasoline injection. You can see it right here on the screen. It all starts right down here in the fuel tank. Now, you see there's an actual low pressure pump in the tank. That's important because we have to make sure the gasoline's in good shape. But the key is low pressure pump. Then it comes on up here, and when it comes up here, it's going through a water separator. The water separator separates the water, and then the key is right here. It goes through a high pressure pump. Once we go through that high pressure pump, we're talking 30, 40, 50, 60,000 PSI of pressure coming up to the common rail, and then boom, shooting through the injector. Now that's a problem because when we're going through these injectors, we have a lot going on here. We have a lot of heat, we have a lot of pressure, and we have a smaller pintle. So that's going directly into the cylinder. Len, what can you help us with here to keep these injectors clean?
Well, we've got several products, and it depends kind of where you're located, what type of weather you're seeing, what type of fuel you're seeing. As we know, diesel fuel is highly sensitive to weather. But your best bet would be the Amsoil all-in-one product. It's going to cover everything that you discussed plus more. It's going to take care of cleaning, it's going to take care of lubricating, it'll handle some cold temperature issues. It's your all-in-one. That would be the one I would recommend for this.
And just like gasoline injection, Len, I mean, the patterns are important. We have to get that. And like I said, that thing's sticking, you got debris in there, you're getting heat soaking, you have a smaller pintle with higher pressure, it's very susceptible to clogging. Now, on these injector patterns, which one do you want?
Well, obviously, obviously I like that one on the left there.
Yeah, it's much better. That's going to atomize, that's going to do the job, and that's important when it comes to a diesel. So can we address the injector itself and not have to do like an all-in-one?
Sure, if you're located somewhere where the temperature isn't cold or you don't have some of those other issues, depending on what type of machine you've got, you could go with just our diesel injector clean. That's a highly concentrated additive that's in there that's designed specifically to clean deposits.
Well, I'm going to take a few home because I have some diesels. You do the same thing. Go to amsoil.com, get you some diesel cleaner, and look at all their phenomenal products.
We cannot do this show without you, the viewer, so thank you so much for tuning in. And we can't do this show without great products coming through the studio here. So if you have one you want to see featured on Motorhead Garage, email me. Send a note to dave@motorheadgarage.tv. We'll get you here in our studio to show it off to the world. Until next week, from the greatest crew in television, we will see you here for another edition of Motorhead Garage presented by DragonfireTools.com.